Hi all. Today we are going to discuss the last of the date functions which are to be discussed. That is DATETRUNC. So DATETRUNC brings first of all date parts which are available in the dates. We have already seen what is the syntax of the DATETRUNC previously, but let's go again into that. So the syntax is date part of, let's take year first, comma, order date. So this is the syntax of the DATETRUNC function, wherein we will be getting the start of the point of every date part which we are mentioning here. Let me maximize this. So whatever the date part we are mentioning here, to that part we will be able to get the first date of that part. By that I mean to say, if we are using DATETRUNC and I am using year here, and instead of order date, if I am using today here, so the output of this field is 01012023. And for suppose if we have the same DATETRUNC functions for the quarter, the output will be the first day of that quarter. Same goes with all the date parts which are remaining in the dates. So let's calculate a MTD calculation using DATETRUNC. And we have one more scenario which will be useful in many cases, that also we will be discussing today. So first thing, we will be discussing basic MTD calculation to get the output using MTD. So as we are doing MTD, I'm taking month part, comma, order date. Is equal to DATETRUNC of month part of today. And order date less than or equal to today. So previously we used to write, whenever we are calculating MTD, we also used to write the year part. But for the DATETRUNC calculation, we need not write that because it's getting tallied for each date which is already for the current month only. Let us check that example. By that, I mean to say, order date here, and I'm applying this. Let us bring any other MTD or YTD. Let's check the MTD. So here we already calculated an MTD date. First, I'm converting this into exact and discrete. So MTD DATETRUNC into filters, apply. So these are the current dates for the MTD, right? So previously we were calculating using some other calculations wherein, let me copy this, Control A. And edit this again. Let us see what we were writing previously. Whenever we are using other parts of the calculation in our condition, we used to tally the year part also whenever we are dealing with the month part or quarter part or WTD or QTD or MTD. We used to tally the date part here because we were extracting only month part here from the previous types of calculations in case of date part or date name, or even the direct functions which were month, year, quarter, and day. So if you are using date trunc function, it will directly tallying the date part. That's why we need not use the year part here. And here the output of a date trunc calculation is date itself. If we are getting the date trunc for the, let's say here we got the time, no? We can also do put a braces here and convert that into date to get the date part out of it. Because sometimes if you have and okay, and here also date, the bottom also date. Yeah, we need to convert this order date also, then we'll get in the format of date format. But if we want the sales value, you can write straight away like this using the same MTD calculation. Sales using date trunc. So if you want to convert that into sales output, we are going to use if calculation to check the condition, and then we'll be using our output to get the calculations and complete the calculation using end function. So like this, we will be able to write the sales also. So this is how we can use the date trunc, and wherein it will be checking the directly date part. Complete date. The output of a date trunc function is a date value. So it is comparing with a date here. So that's why we need not write a year part in the calculation. So this is the date trunc where we will be using to get the output. So the next thing is, there are some scenarios where we will be where we need to get the last day of an year or last day of a month or anything which has a frequency, and if we want to go to the last part of it, we need to use the date trunc calculation added with date add calculation. So let us look at that scenario wherein if I have a scenario wherein I have to get the total number of days in a month, or if there is a scenario wherein I need to get to the last day of every month, and in every month we don't have the exact same last dates. That's why we need to use the date trunc and as well as date add to get our outputs. So let's see that scenario, how to get to the last day of every month. So here, first thing, let's take the order date again into the view. I will type here only. Yeah. So order date again into the view. Yeah. So our requirement here is to get the last day of every month. So for that, what we have to do is, currently, let us assume we are in 21st of this date. So I need to go to the last day of this month. Okay, last day of this month is having 31st here. Okay, so first what I am doing is I'm going to the next month, same date. By using DATEPARTS function, I'm going to add the date for the 1 month to the current date. So in the DATEPARTS, I'm using month part because I want to get to the next month. And as I'm going to the next month, I'm taking +1. And here I'm keeping this as today. Okay. So when I'm applying this, and bringing this into visualization. Exact date and discrete. I'm able to get the next month current date. See, here I'm able to go to the next month and current date. The reason where I went to the next month is I want to do a DATETRUNC on this entire calculation. So I will get to the first date of the next month. So let's say now I am doing DATETRUNC on this. Let's put, yeah. So DATETRUNC on this, and while using DATETRUNC, we need to use the date part. Again, I am using month here, and after month, I'm using comma and closing the braces. Okay, date, month. One second. Yeah, we already have a working DATETRUNC here, which was working fine like this. Okay. So like this, I have written the first part, which will bring me the first part of that month year. So I went to the first of the next month with respect to the today. So after that, what I am going to do is I am going to just subtract 1 day, which will bring me to the last day of this month. So I'm applying this. So like this, I have got the last day of every month. Here you are able to see this last day. So if I am replacing this today with order date, I am going to get the last day of every month. So currently I was in 1st January. Here I am getting the last day of January here. Let's check for every month like this. It is able to recognize, even though we have in some of the years, we will have the leap years. And if that is a February, it has to check whether it is 28 or 29 also. So in that case, it is going to check all these conditions and straight away give the exact output which is required. So this is how we will be getting to the last day of every month and applying this copy. I'm copying this one. And if I want to count the total number of days in a month, the thing which I need to do is just I need to subtract this month starting date and ending date and add a 1 day to that, so that I'll get the total number of days available in this month in a calendar days. So let's check that calculation also. If I want total days in a month, in date calculations. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to get the first part of every day in the month. So for that, I am going to take DATETRUNC first. And here I'm going with the month part, comma, order date, minus the previous calculation. Entire output. So let's check what is this output giving. So for that purpose, I'm making this everything into the month part, because we need to get the output in the total number of days. So here, and this is a dimension, and we don't need the sum of days. So like this, okay, you can use ABS here, or we can write this part first and the second part in the last. So like this, we will be able to get the total number of days available in the month using this DATETRUNC function and date add. We can get the total number of days in a month, total number of days in an year, because in some years we have the leap years. That's why we need to use these calculations to get the changing dates and changing times in different types of the calculation. So for that, we are using ISDATE function, which will check whether it's a date or not. By that, I mean to say, if you don't want to get the output where there is a null value, then we can directly use ISDATE of this value and then get the output. So for this, our input should be the string value. So by that, we can check whether it's a date value or not. So let's see if they have any string values here. Okay, order date. Yeah, order date is a string value which is available here. And if I am converting that, and bringing this into the view. So it will either give the true or false option based on the output. So if we don't have anything which is not a valid date, then obviously it is going to check the date value. So let's check the different dates if we have missed anything. So this is the ISDATE function which we will be using. Yeah, we have to discuss this max and min also, where we will be using this in the parameter. I'm creating a parameter here. So to create a parameter of that scenario, first thing we need to write a separate calculation which will fetch the max date out of it. So let me create another date field out of this date field. What I'm saying here is if order date greater than 0104 2023 and I am taking here today -3, because here I'm going to assume always my refresh is going to be 3 days earlier in any scenario. So this is going to give me the date field, which is only having, excluding the null here, and converting this into exact date and discrete. So like this, we can get the date fields. Here we have 18 as our max date. But let's say we don't know what is the max date here. So let us assume in this scenario, these are the dates which are available in our data, and we don't know what are the dates generally it will be there. So for that purpose, what we are doing is to get the min date. First, what we are writing here is, this is our date scenario. First, what we are writing is to get the min and max dates out of it. I'm going to use a flower bracket here, and I'm writing min of this current date. So I'm applying this. Okay, but like this, I got the min date, and I'm saying min of current order date is greater than or equal to current date field, or I can say order date, wherein I can fetch the full values, and again here to get the max date, I am going to write max of inside the flower braces. I am wrapping this max inside the flower braces so that I'll get the max of this current date. And max order date less than or equal to max of this current date. So like this, I am going to get the calculation, and I am going to input this calculation to the parameter, so that it will detect automatically if the min date is this, it will get the min date on the available data and max date available on that data. Then end. Okay, then order date and then end. So like this, we can create a calculation on this date field, so that, let me create and apply this so that you'll be able to understand. Range and min of max of this, and okay. So if I'm showing the parameter now as type in, I'm going to get only this part wherein I will be selecting. Otherwise, I cannot select that parts here and get the output here. So like this, we can get the outputs in the relevant dates. So let's go to the DATEPARTS function, where we will be converting a string input into a date field. By that, we mean to say, let's convert some of the things into string, then we can make use of them. So we have order date, right? Here we have order date. I'm duplicating this and converting this into string. So this is my string copy of order date. Okay. So I want to get date out of it. Sometimes your date field is in string format. So then you need to convert that string format into date format. So for that purpose, then we have only one function here to make use of this, which is DATEPARS, wherein we can use this function and we have to give the format and how it is. So we already know that for years, the format is in single quotes, we can give the format. So YY, small letters YY, dash. So for the 01, we need to mention, okay, this is the month. So I'm going to mention capital M here. For months, it's capital M. And for days, it's small d, comma, the order date copy. So this is how we will be using DATEPARS function and we will be getting the output. So this was the format I want to extract it. As we have date and time, let's check how the output is. Otherwise, we'll change the format to time also. Yeah, we were unable to get the output. Here, let us give the space also. Hours in small letters, hours colon, minutes in capital M. Yeah, here minutes in small m. Full seconds. Let's see. As we have written the entire format, we are able to generate the output. So exact date. And discrete. So after converting this, I want only, if I think I want only date field, date without time, I can use date function on top of that and convert that into date. So this was the function which I have written and we have converted that into date. First, we have used DATEPARS and we have given the exact format which was there. So here for the months, we have to use capital M as we have discussed in the symbols. So these are the symbols wherein for the months we will be getting or using capital M and for minutes we will be using small m's. And whenever we are going into the hours part, if we are using 12 hours format, then we'll be using small h. And if we are using 24, we'll be using capital H. Day of the month also, we'll be using small letter. So like this, you can go through this, and this is also useful whenever you are using custom formatting also, these symbols are useful. And the example is also given here so that you can practice them. So whenever we are using triple capital M here as given, you'll be getting the first 3 digits of the month. If you are using 4 M's, you'll get the full name. Full name in string format. Okay. So this is how we will be using DATEPARS function and we'll be extracting date out of it. So if you are having any fields which are string date fields and you need to convert them into date fields, then you need to use DATEPARS functions. But in some of the databases, DATEPARS function is not at all available. Then you will have no other option to use MAKEDATE option, which is our next function in date fields, where we will be making a date from an integer value. Let's take the same example wherein I have a string data which is order date and I want to make use of MAKEDATE function because I don't have DATEPARS function in my. You will not get the DATEPARS itself in some of the databases. Let's say I think in Teradata or Google BigQuery, we don't have that function. Might be Teradata. I'll confirm that. So here, let's take this example and I want to use the MAKEDATE. So first, the syntax of MAKEDATE is we have to give the year part, comma, month part, comma, date part. Let's take first small example. I'm giving 2023, comma, month. I'm giving this day, this month, 07 and 19. So like this also you can input straight away direct values into the Tableau using MAKEDATE function. So like this I am able to get the current date using MAKEDATE function. So yeah, I was able to get the current date here. So for this example, we'll take the previously discussed example. So here in this condition, I want to extract year part out of it first. So first what we'll write, we already know the left function here, which is left of first four are the year part, right? Then we'll be writing left of order date copy, comma 4. So which will extract year part here. Okay. And on the top, I am using MAKEDATE and braces open. And after year part, I am giving a comma. And now I want to extract month part. So month part, for the month part, I am using mid function, wherein I am using order date copy, and I'm starting it from 5, 2. Where my I have a delimiter, so it occupies 5th position. So I have to say 6, 2. So let's check if that is giving. Yes. Okay, so I am able to extract the month part also here. And after that, let's take day part, which will be also using mid function, order date copy, comma. So it will be 9, 2. And we'll be using close here. Let's take this 9, 2 also. Yeah, we are able to extract the day part also. To convert this in string values into integer, we have an int function in Tableau where we will be converting int. To convert strings into integer, we will be using this int function. This is how we will be converting string output into integer in each part, and then we will be giving the input to the MAKEDATE to get the relevant output. So we will be using MAKEDATE function like this, and we'll be getting our required outputs.
We are left with one more date function in Tableau, that is DATEDIFF. Let's understand the syntax of it first. So DATEDIFF is going to calculate the difference of the date part which is mentioned in the calculation. For now, I am taking month here, and the two dates are going to be today and order date. So as we already have order date updated in our data, I'm taking order date updated and clicking on apply. So let's understand what is happening here. And prior to this, as we want the difference of the date part here, this is going to be a dimension field. And let's bring the order date updated into the rows and make it exact. Let's do it in the month bar here so that we'll have a clarity on the difference of the date part. Okay. So yeah. So when we observe here, we are able to understand that this DATEDIFF function will give us both positive, negative, and zero also in its output. So based on this, we can build the logics for different types of the calculations. Let's say one of the real-time example, which is going to be much useful with the DATEDIFF function, will be the previous month or the next month, because when we want to get to the previous month of any date selected in a parameter, it becomes a very big hurdle when we are in the January month. Or by default, if we want to go to the previous month or previous quarter, this becomes a big hurdle when we are going to change the year part by default. So for this, we'll be using DATEDIFF function. So let's take an example on this and get the relevant output. So for now, if I want to get the previous month of any field with respect to today, I want to get the calculation, right? So for that, what I am doing is, let me duplicate this calculation. Our requirement is get to the previous month using DATEDIFF, right? So I'm going to use previous month sales. So whenever my today is in January, I need to get to the previous month, right? So if I'm using today here, let me maximize this. If I am using today first and then the date field, we are going to get the output of the previous month as -1, and alternatively, let me comment this. If I'm using order date updated first and today last, our positive and negative symbols are going to be affected. So now I am applying this. So previous month. So if you observe the difference, now when I have changed the dates, the respective negative and positive fields have been changed. So now, just to make you understand, I have given the second one. So this way is also possible, like both dates can be interchanged. And whenever we are working with DATEDIFF, it would be wise to select the respective date part and check how our calculation is affecting. So for now, if I want to get the previous month sales, I'm going to equate this difference with 1 so that I'll get to the previous month. And I'll put a if condition in front of it. And as we already have the Boolean condition, the expected output can be sales then. Applying this. So now we got the sales of December month. So this is how we are going to use all the different functions available. We are left with one more date function in Tableau, that is DATEDIFF. Let's syntax of it first. So DATEDIFF is going to calculate the difference of the date part which is mentioned in the calculation. For now, I am taking month here, and the two dates are going to be today and order date.